This video has been brought to you by Break Connect. Go to the website and register. Check out what they have to offer at breakconnect.com. Yo, what's up? This is Shadow Rockin' Pro 41 of the Floor Gangs and Knuckleneck Tribe, and you're watching The Trades, show about breaking, hip hop, and the business of. How's everyone doing on this fine Monday night, early evening? Welcome to the Pro 41 channel. So, just to catch everyone up, I want to thank Emmanuel Fox from Greece. He was out there. We had an interview last week. It was really early. It was like 12 p.m. here in California. But out there in Greece, it was like 10 p.m. So we had to do the live then, but really good interview. Basically, he comes in and he shows basically movement. So there's a lot of people talking about like, oh, I did this first, you know, did 90s come here first? And we kind of deaded all that. He actually had this guy, this comedian acrobat in 1944 do like pretty much a windmill, like, you know, not like the Kung Fu fan and almost like, you know, back to your feet, but he almost continuous. And this guy, Emmanuel Fox, The Vault, had footage of just numerous things. So you could check that channel out right here on YouTube. It's The Vault 101, or on Instagram called The Vault. And, yo, a lot of dope footage. And again, not related to hip hop, but yet as movement of the human body, really dope. You can check that episode right here on this channel, the Pro 41 channel. And again, before we get to our guests, we are going to basically do a little housekeeping. First of all, 89% of you are not subscribed. You guys helped me get to 1,400 subscribers. Thank you very much. We need 4,000 sit hours to get monetized. So, you know what it could do? It can help, because if 89% of you are watching the content, you know, that could already get to maybe 2,000, right? Or even more. And you guys could actually watch my past catalogs of the trades or the hip hop dark web. So if you can, because likes and subscriptions are for free, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, hit the bell for notifications, and you'll really help the channel out. Pro 41 channel right here. And if you want the trades, more of this. If you, and plus to upgrade, obviously upgrade the channel, right? Get better cameras and stuff like that. And another thing, giving a shout out to Zen World CBD. CBD is a non-psychoactive part of the THC cannabis plant. And what Zen World does is they make products for that. So for instance, CBD helps with inflammation. And if you know about inflammation, that's the main cause of a lot of, like, you know, blockages and, you know, like, you know, of diseases. Like what happens when you get triggered is you get inflamed, and CBD helps calm that down. So for instance, we have Zen World makes the nano drops. You could put this in your coffee, water, or sports drink, just a little drop, take it down after your workout. And if you don't want to ingest it, well, just like an Icy Hot, they have the CBD roll-on, CBD freeze, Zen World. So again, it works like an Icy Hot. It helps like massage it, right? Gets cool, like heats it up, cools it down. But the main active ingredient is CBD, and basically it calms that down. It brings it down. So what you could do is you could go to the website zenworld.com and get 10% off using the promo code PROFOWON, PROFOWON, 10% off. Why not save money while you repair, regenerate, and relax? All right. So with that, that being said, okay. So, you know, I've had the hip hop dark web, and we're gonna do another one maybe June. And I'm thinking about the guest right now. And Pluto's out there. Shout out to Pluto7 right here. He says, "Let's do this." And Deo's channel says, "What's up? I'm the 111 subscribe and is rung." Dope. Thank you so much. So, you know, I have a lot of B-boy breaking centric guests on the channel, right? Because the majority of you guys tuning in are B-boys or B-girls, or that like to watch breaking. But, you know, I like to always bring in other guests in the other elements of hip hop. Because why? Because I talk about the show being hip hop and breaking, not just breaking. And a lot of it is like, doing history regionally. Like, so prior to like, having like b-boys like Shonsky from the Bay talk about breaking history, or Pluto on talking about just the all around history from the first from the mid 70s. I also had, I talked about the 90s as far as breaking. And I did a show where I was like, well, I need to talk about if I'm talking about the b-boys in the Bay in the 90s, then I have to talk about the DJs in the Bay in the 90s. So I had DJ Shortcut, and he had a lot of dope stories of his own experience and from what he heard. And we pulled up footage from YouTube from the old sound systems and all the old mobile DJ crews that are out here in the Bay. So I thought, well, I did the Bay, I need to do LA too, right? Because everyone pretty much knows the New York scene that happened mid 70s to the late 70s to the 80s. Everyone pretty much, it's been documented. But you know what? In the breaking scene, not a lot of the DJ scene in LA. So without further ado, hailing from Cerritos, California, we got my man from the Beat Junkies. We have DJ Rhettmatic. How you doing, Rhett? Yo, your mic's off. There you go. How you doing, Rhett?
What's up, Profo?
Yo, thanks for being on the show, man.
Thanks for having me. We go way back.
Yeah, dude. Man, and that's the whole thing. It's like, just I'm thankful because sometimes I'm like, will this guy come on? I'm not sure, because it's like, I don't got any, I don't got a lot of subscribers or anything like that. But again, like, for me, it's about documenting these interviews because, this is a conversation that doesn't really happen. I mean, it could happen in Instagram, but as I always say, it's like the thing about Instagram is no one goes to Instagram to listen to long form. You know what I mean? They go to like YouTube or Spotify. So might as well document it and, just like have people listen to it while they're like, doing their laundry or working out or something like that. And that way we could like have a conversation that's interesting too, that maybe, because like from DJ to DJ, you guys are going to have like talk shop, right? But as a person that's not a DJ, but that's a hip hop head, okay, I'm going to have certain questions that maybe a DJ won't have and vice versa. And that's why I like having the show and not just having b-boy to b-boy or b-girl to b-girl.
Well, I mean, it's good that you're doing this because you need as much as documentation for this,
right?
Because I mean, there's you need someone that's involved in the culture. I mean, as crazy as it's now the word to say the culture and stuff.
That's a very sensitive word right now. That could be so many things at this point, right?
Right. But I mean, it is a culture. I mean, this straight up, So, but especially if you're talking, about some, hip hop, if you talk about the West Coast, there hasn't that much documentation per se as
and you know what, and that's why I want to start out with the. I mean, actually, I had Little Caesar in my other podcast called Gearheads, and he talked a lot about the breaking side, right?
Right.
But even though he might have a favorite song, he might see a few DJs. Why I want to talk to a DJ is because you guys are the forefront of what's going to be played, what's going to be the reaction to the dancers or at a club. So I wanted to get your perspective. So let's start with that. So let's start with when did you start DJing and when was the first time you saw it?
Well, I mean, so I'm dating myself right here.
Go for it, man.
I've got the lucky to experience hip hop happening in LA West Coast. Let's just say LA, really, around 82, 83. Like I was in junior high and stuff. I had friends that had also older brothers and sisters and stuff like that. Just that were they were listening to funk and all that stuff or whatever.
So let's start with that. So I mean, I talked to Buddha Stretch, and he kind of said the same thing before. Kind of was like the electro thing. Mm-hmm. It was like he was listening to funk. Was it a lot like that? That you're dating yourself, right? Because like 79, I was 4, and Rapper's Delight came out when I was 5. I mean, I remember on the radio,
right?
And then after that, it was just electro time. You know what I'm saying? So for you, right?
Right. Well, I mean, obviously, listening to whatever was hot in the at the time, I guess whether it be funk or soul or new wave. New wave is coming in.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
like whatever was hot. Like so, there was it's still around. I mean, our pop
Right,
station was Kiss FM 102.7.
right,
So we used to listen obviously what was whatever what was hot on the radio and stuff like that. So
right,
I mean, obviously, I had friends that would also like talk about like certain genres like punk rock, like like I didn't
right,
know, like they were telling me about Black Flag. I was like, who?
right, 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 right.
What's that? Like and then like I said, um, you hear about Rapper's Delight, but you didn't know, it was like, what is that? Right?
Right, right.
Uh, but my official taste of seeing it up live, up close, and figure, and like it's like, oh, this is something going on. Like, I mean, I've seen, so of course, watching Soul Train and stuff like that, but
Right.
you never really putting it together and stuff like that. But uh, like I was in seventh grade, and I remember during lunchtime. I said this in many interviews. This is my first taste of what I guess, call hip hop. I guess like, I mean, you
Mhm.
didn't know, but someone broke out a boombox, and they start playing Planet Rock, and a circus was starting to form. But it's cats were popping. I didn't know it was called popping.
Right.
Cats were doing the waves and stuff like that, and they were popping to Planet Rock. I was like, what is this stuff? And these are like some of the cooler kids and the older kids. They have like
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's how I kind of like that. And then eventually, and then of course during that time too is like when like, okay, there's a show called That's Incredible, that came.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's
Now,
how.
now you're talking. Yeah. Now you're
Yeah,
talking.
that's how.
Yeah.
That, I already. That's how, knowing you see popping, but then we see a show called That's Incredible when they did the Floor Masters, which of course later now known as the New York City Breakers and stuff
Right.
like that. Right? Just seeing that. There was another show called Real People. They had the Dynamic Rockers on there. Then eventually, like, uh, uh, um, uh, 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 eventually another like a there was a show in L.A. A local TV show called I in L.A. Uh, on ABC. It was our show
Right.
and stuff like that. And they had that's the first time I seen Boogaloo Shrimp, and there's an Boogaloo Shrimp Pop and Taco, and then they also had this group called Chain Reaction. So
Oh, yeah. Word. I've heard of change reaction. Yeah.
they're a locking group that was in
Right.
from the valley and stuff like that. So there's like, again, this is me as a junior high school kid just seeing all this stuff, and then obviously music start coming in. Uh, uh, K Rock was big. I don't know if you're familiar with K Rock. It was a radio station that played all new wave and stuff like
Okay.
that, right? But they had this DJ named Richard Blade from England, but he had his own TV video show. You know how New York had video,
Yeah. Okay.
video music box? Said
Yeah.
him. He played more new wave, but once in a while
Mm.
he play something like, what is that? Like like
Like Buffalo Gals or something like that. Like he would play.
Buffalo
Yeah.
Gals, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that's when you see like, okay, what's this is going on, and then I started hearing about like KGLH 102.3 FM, which is a radio station over here in LA that's owned by Stevie Wonder.
Oh
They did,
shoot.
yeah, and then there was another station called KGFJ 12:30 AM. So
What
there
the?
were, and then eventually a station named 1580 AM KDAY.
Yeah.
So
K Day. We're gonna
KDA,
get there. We're
yeah,
gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So going back to junior high, right? So the guy pulls out a boom box. Everyone starts forming a circle. Were they breaking already, or was just mostly popping?
it was mostly popping.
Okay, so no floor moves at all. It was just kind of
But
like,
right, but again, they're playing Planet Rock, so
yeah,
it's like I'm like, and then eventually, then you start hearing also about like, again, Buffalo Gals, like Malcolm McLaren and Buffalo Gals, and then eventually you hear about like Globe and the Whiz Kid. Of course, you hear,
mm,
they also start playing Reggie Griffin and Techno Funk, a joint called Motor Rock. Then you would hear Globe and the Whiz Kid play that beat. So a lot of this stuff is like we're again, L.A. West Coast or just L.A. in general. We're getting hip hop late.
right.
So I only can imagine what's going on in the Bay Area. But we're,
Honestly, we had us, now since we're going to radio stations, maybe it was like not as early as. So when was K Day for you guys? What year was that?
like 80, 83, 84.
Okay, so we had actually an underground station called KPOO. That was
Yeah,
maybe 85.
right,
I
right,
think it was 85, but that was the only, besides like the main radio station, like there was two main radio stations, was KMEL and
right,
KSOL, right?
right,
KSOL. But
right,
there was that college radio station, KPOO, and they would you could kind of hear Too Short because that was the only place on the radio you could hear Too Short because
right,
you weren't
right,
hearing it on KMEL. You weren't
right,
hearing no Too Short that early on
right.
KMEL. So we kind of had something like that, but it seemed like K Day was obviously, but a
Okay,
bigger kind of reach. It had a bigger bandwidth than we did, like KPOO had in the Bay Area.
right. Well, KD was an AM station, so it's like not like FM. AM, like in the daytime it was good, but when the nighttime came on, for whatever reason, the power went half, and then you had to like hold on to your antenna just to catch it, catch it, catch an airwave just to get some type of signal and shit like that. That's real. So I mean, even before, like I said, there was mix shows and stuff. Like I said, on KJLH, there's KACE 103.9, and they do mix shows on the Saturdays. But they were playing like whatever funk, disco, whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, Tony G right there.
Yeah,
so,
here's an interview with you guys and Tony G from K Day.
Yeah.
So
he's pretty much he's Greg Mack tried to put a crew together called originally he was trying to call the Greg Mack Mix Marines, and he says no because he was trying to I guess battle against Uncle Jam's army. So Uncle Jam,
we'll talk about that soon. But
but Tony G is like we say that the Katie Mix Masters are kind of like the blueprint of what the Junkies are, right? And then Tony G is a lot of people don't know there, and there's rarely any videos of Tony. Just as of recently, you can see him like he can still get down, but he's pretty much like he's our blueprint, the way how we mix, the way how we put shit together and stuff like that. Tony's the man. Everybody knows, of course, Joe Cooley in Atlanta, but Tony's the one,
yeah.
But Tony's the one that put everyone down in the KD Mix Masters.
Oh wow, crazy.
He's a Cuban, originally from the East Coast, moved to LA. Lived in El Monte.
That's crazy. And he was, so this was like, you said this is like 82, 83 when he
give or take 83, 84. I mean, just like I just started seeing 82, 83, but like K-Day would be like 83, 84 or something like that. So, and you got to also look at it this way, because you said you have your own stations.
Right.
K-Day Mix Masters were the All Stars, but even before that, there's Uncle Jam's Army, which is also, that's Egyptian Lover.
Yeah.
Bobcat and Miss Roger Clayton, rest in peace, who's the leader. And then there's also World Class Wrecking Crew. That's Lonzo, Dr. Dre, and DJ Yellow.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like obviously, like what you're talking about too was like electro seemed like it was a big, like that sound really kind of hit LA pretty, like just like everywhere else, but seemed like there was actually groups, like you said, like, you're talking about the Wrecking Crew, you're talking about,
Well, a lot of it is based upon because, like funk and, like Prince, like that. So a lot of it,
Okay, yeah.
Up tempo shit. Like
right.
You go to Uncle. I was too young to go, but you would hear about, when you hear go freak, right?
Right.
There was a dance called the Freak when they're, right. So they would play like that's their job, to play all the, play all the up tempo shit, and they,
right.
Get real busy on that and stuff. So I mean, I would hear commercials on the radio and shit like that from Uncle Jam's Army with the Egyptian Lover and Mr. Prince. Like it's crazy.
yeah.
It's like, it's like, like a lot of, like, again, like a lot of heroes, hip hop, LA stars came from that that circle and shit. That's who we come up with, like that. So yeah, when we say Dr. Dre was a dope DJ, he's a dope DJ. Like he was he was one of the man and shit like that. Like he was like, it's like Egyptian Lover, Dr. Dre, Tony G, Bobcat. These are like the the OGs in terms of, at least I know there's other cats before them too as well, but these are the ones that kind of, at least for LA history, LA hip hop, in terms of just the DJing part. But if you're talking about like the Cool Herc,
Right.
Roger Clayton of Uncle Jim's
Mm.
Army is the man. He brought a lot of the East Coast acts out here, like UTFO, Run DMC, Jazzy Jeff, Fresh Prince,
We have a Egyptian lover right here, right?
Egyptian Lover, and the Glove, Chris the
And the
Glove Killer.
glove. The glove who was with Ice T, and obviously Ice T is in this video too, breaking and
Yes.
entering. If you haven't seen this video, if you want to see Ice T lock, you know what I mean? When he was actually dancing, right? Before the pimp, he talked about, 6 in the morning.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, yeah, he was big in the Radiotron. We talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about that with Lil Caesar.
Right.
Talked about how
But
Ice T was
I mean,
always there.
there's a difference between radio and Radiotron, right?
Right. Okay. So yeah, talk
So
about that real quick. So what's the difference
again,
between
same
radio
thing.
and Radiotron?
Right. It was, again, I wasn't old enough to go there. Being
Right.
Filipino. Being
Yeah.
Filipino. My parents ain't make me. Where you going? You stay here.
Yeah.
At school. But I would have friends sneak out over there, or they,
Right.
So basically, radio is like one of the first clubs in LA.
Okay.
I know there's other clubs, but that one was kind of like I would hear about, like, for at least for every, like, break dancing, breaking, popping, DJing, rapping. Ice T and Kid Frost were rapping and shit.
So this is wait. So radio? Would you say radio? So radio is a club. Radiotron was a center. Like was it?
Radio.
Like,
Well, see what happened from, like, Ice T actually just kind of even broke it down. Like he did a interview, a podcast with I want to say with Questlove, and
okay. Word.
he broke it down, saying like that basically, I forgot the name of the owner of radio.
Yeah. Caesar. Oh. Okay. No. Go. Keep going. Keep
Right.
going.
But what I guess when the movie, I guess the directors and the producers of the movie Breaking came in, they wanted to film it. I don't know the whole exact thing. Something went down to a point where they couldn't use radio. So okay, we'll make Radiotron. Like, so Radiotron
Okay.
was right.
Okay.
So it's two different. So it's there's radio and there's Radiotron.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but so I guess in some ways the movie Breaking's the center is kind of based upon that. I would
Yes.
say,
Yeah. Actually, Caesar confirmed it. He was like, "Yo, Radiotron was basically Breaking Two's like their plot, right? Because
right.
because Radiotron was breaking down. So, the only thing they had to do was like, they had to, get a fundraiser together, and then they were like, "Hey, let's make a movie out of that,"
Right,
which is
right.
funny. And they never saw the money out of it, which is crazy,
Right,
and never saved the center.
right.
But yeah, but it's just funny how it's just like I had one of my co-hosts was like he's like younger, so he's like 30, so he's blown away when he hears that. I was like, she's like, no way. I was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, it was crazy because Caesar, the Air Force crew was already part of that, already in Radiotron area like that.
Right.
Like, I again coming up, you would obviously, social media. You just hear word of mouth. You hear about You hear about this,
Yeah.
you hear like that, like whatever and shit like that. So
Yeah, man. Crazy.
yeah.
So okay, so amongst this one, this is all getting, this is all basically you're seeing all this or hearing about this really. I mean, obviously if you're in middle school, high school, and maybe you start to maybe go see a glimpse of it going somewhere, or at least have friends go to these events, right? Were you interested in DJing back then, or were you actually dancing? Like how did you get involved in like actually the culture,
Well,
right? Hip hop culture.
You're right. Like usually around that time, you usually do at least two out of the four elements.
You said it first.
No, I mean, before I became DJing, I was actually popping and a graph writer.
Oh shoot! All right,
Right.
here we go.
Right. And eventually and then of course I had friends, again, older brothers. I had friends with older brothers who had records, and they were DJing. I mean, I was just saying, oh, what's this? Like that. So I kind of got into DJing too. Like eventually, towards before I graduated high school is when I really immersed into DJing and stuff. But I was like, I was doing it, basically 3 out of the 4. I couldn't rap for shit, because
Right.
as Asians too, there were not that many Asian rappers or anything like that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, but because of our
We're gonna
culture,
talk about that soon too. But yeah,
right,
anyway.
right. But there's always been, there's been a big history of Asians, let alone Filipinos, been active in the hip hop culture on the West Coast,
Oh
right?
yeah.
From
Oh
all
yeah.
the way from LA to all the way to the Bay Area,
Yeah.
maybe even parts of San, but of course the main pockets of obviously would be would be LA, and then of course the Bay Area would be the next step and shit like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Of course there's history, there's always a duality too, also because the Bay Area in terms of the DJ scene, the Filipinos, the LA scene in terms of Filipino scene is almost similar, but there's
Okay.
different. There's a different outtake. We had a mobile DJ scene, but when you said you had Short, Short would tell you the same thing too. It's more. Every time I would go to the Bay Area, when I go to a party up there, the DJs would have elaborate
Yes.
sound systems, right?
Yes.
Not saying that
Yes.
we have some too, but some of us were, because again, we had K Day, so we were
Right.
more so concentrating and listening and cutting it up,
Okay. Okay. I see. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
right?
So was it?
So
So it wasn't like as much as like. So that's what I was gonna
we
ask you
have
because like we had a whole like scene of like we're competition. Like it was like sound systems. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you had
we
everything.
have
Right.
yeah, we had
Okay.
sound systems too as well, but it's like like the Bay Area they went, we had the shit. Bay Area took it to the next level, but
Yeah. Okay.
again, but there was other sound systems too that were doing that. Like there's like you got now LA's big compared to
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so LA so spread out. You can't
Right.
right. So each city had their own mobile DJ group, but there's only a few DJ groups or promotion groups that actually had a big sound system. For most of the part, everybody was just like, oh, I got a turntable, you got a turntable, or you have a speaker, or I got an amplifier, and maybe have a strobe lights and shit like that. Or we rent trusses and stuff. We but we and then of course, like I'm sure the same thing with in the Bay Area. One person was the tech guy, one
Yeah.
person was the plays the dance shit, one people was the
Yeah.
scratcher.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
a scratcher and shit
Right.
like that. Right. But I mean, again, but we did a little bit of everything, but we didn't, at least for the Filipino scene. At least I'm not gonna speak because there's other scenes too. There's the black
Right.
scenes. There's the Latino scene. There's like the Asian scene. But we had like systems. Like I had a certain Vega PD18, a pair of PD18s and QSC amp, but and maybe some helicopters and not call it a day and shit. Right?
So okay, you just said something that really sparked something. So basically, for a lot of guys, right, it seemed like back then, it's like mixing, whatever. I just want to scratch, right? Were you more of a scratch guy, or were you just a little, or you're intrigued by both?
A little bit. Well, again, coming from listening to K Day, listening to Uncle Jam's Army, whatever was happening. If they mix, we mix. If they cut, they cut.
That's okay, I see.
So it's like this, like obviously, as time goes on, you hear like Joe Cooley being being the Master Scratcher and shit like that. But majority of them, they all mix and shit like that.
Okay.
So so it's like like I said, our basis of what we do is what KD Mix Masters were doing, or Uncle Jam's Army, or World Class Wrecking Crew. Like Dr. Dre was doing 4-track mixes, multi-track mixes and shit like that. Selling it at Rhodium swap meets, right?
Right.
I mean, Egyptian Lover was playing the 808 drum machines and scratching over it and mixing at the same time. So it's
right.
Whatever. So I always say this: the difference between, say, the LA scene and the Bay Area scene, because we got it. We're getting everything right there on the spot and shit like that. And so sometimes they would do sometimes high school dances and shit like that,
Right.
Or I would. So I don't know if you know about Knott's Berry Farm. So
yes, I've heard things about Knott's Berry Farm. So let's talk about that real quick.
Knott's Berry Farm used to have a spot called either Cloud 9 and then Circle K, right? Whatever. And they used to have shows, breaking contests. And
Word,
stuff.
Yeah. Okay, I've heard these things. Yeah.
But also, I remember when K Day came down to to Knott's Berry Farm. This is big. Like everyone came out, and I remember seeing Uncle Jam's Army, World Class Wrecking Crew, Ice T and Kid Frost DJing. I mean rapping, Bobby Jam and the Critters. I remember just watching Dr. Dre walking around with his satin World Class Wrecking Crew jacket. I seen Bobcat wearing a Japanese bandana. You know how I used those Japanese.
Yeah.
And they're all cutting "It's Time" and shit. People were breaking. I mean, this is like as a 16, 17-year-old that you get to hear, and this is like these are our superstars and shit like that. So it's like, and this is like Cerritos is LA County, but we're borderline Orange County, LA County. It's like Knott's Berry Farm is like literally like 10, 15 minutes away from me, and then Disneyland's about 15, 20 minutes away from me and shit like that. Right.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing. Everybody because Katy is from when you hear about Katy parties, it's mostly in the hood.
Right.
Really in the hood. It's really in the hood and shit. I didn't know at the time, but it was in the hood.
Right. So, okay, here's one thing that this conversation is actually opening my eyes a lot to a lot of things. So here's the thing that what seems like the difference between what's going on with you guys and what's difference between what's going up here, you guys were definitely way more hip hop centric. Because a lot of the mobile DJ groups, you didn't have to necessarily be into hip hop. You just you had supply and demand. If there was you know what I mean? Like it was mostly high energy stuff like that. You know what I mean?
But that's the craziest thing. They played that shit on K-Day. They played
really?
Everything. Dude, that's what I'm trying to tell you. K-Day played everything from Nocera to Debbie Deb to Grandmaster Flash and Furious Fights to Mantronics to UTFO to Earth, Wind, and Fire. We heard everything.
Damn. See, that's why we did it. You know what I mean? It was just whoever the DJ company is, whatever the cotillion wanted, and maybe what young people wanted. You know what I'm saying?
But you're talking about the cotillion. That's a Filipino thing.
That's the only thing I can talk about, right?
any regardless if you're Black, Latino, Asian, white, whatever, we all listen to K-Day.
Right.
Going to J Rock and I were talking about it, in the mornings we would listen to Russ Parr going to school, listening to our parents are trying to listen to them on in the morning going to school, listening to K-Day and shit like that. They have their own their morning show, play mixes and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's and they would play, like I said, they would play a little bit of everything. The mix shows would happen during the traffic jams and then in the weekends, but they would still it'd be kind of crazy. You just hear you would hear Earth, Wind, and Fire, Reason, and then they'll play Egyptian Lover, Egypt.
Right. Crazy, dude.
Yeah, it's like I'm saying. It's like we hear, and then later on they'll play Debbie Deb. Because again, going back, West Coast, we were listening to fast stuff because of funk or Prince or new wave. They were even playing new wave on K-Day and stuff in the mix.
Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy because mostly the radio was maybe playing some a lot of mixture of new wave, not so. It was like KSOL for us. KSOL was more funk, just pure funk, soul stuff like that. Cameo kind of played both. They would play their little, they would play the new wave stuff. They would play sometimes Depeche and sometimes some Egyptian Lover, maybe. I heard more Egyptian Lover and stuff like that at a party. You know what I mean? At parties and stuff. Not so much on the radio, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's crazy, you know what I mean? What you're saying is they played all that in the radio. So you guys, that's a really good, as far as inspiration to be a DJ and wanting to mix everything. Because you know what I mean? That's crazy. Well, that's dope.
You would hear them play, Blue OMD, is it Blue OMD? No, Blue is it Blue Oyster? Dun 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 dun. Or they play Yaz.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They played, and that was considered. I didn't even know that was new wave, but they would mix that with Planet Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, right.
It's like you got to remember during those times it was so new. You just don't what is this? So I couldn't imagine what they were kind of New York was doing something like that already a long time ago. But remember, we're West Coast was like 4 or 5 years late.
Right.
We were thinking Planet Rock was the shit. We didn't know they were playing breaks and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, yeah. We we didn't know. We didn't know about Ultimate Breaks and Beats and stuff like that. We just
That came a little bit later on.
yeah. So let's talk about that order, right? Because now we're talking Marley Marl, we're talking about 86, 84, 85, 86.
Mm-hmm.
When the sound kind of like, it started getting more of that, like, the whole what Breakbeat Lou said was him and Lenny were trying to like curate the sound, what happened in the park jams in the Bronx and stuff like that, and taking those original breaks and putting it out. And of course, Marley Marl finally like taking those breaks and remixing it to where they had Eric B for president and stuff like that. And that's when you had the shift of like from Pumpkin and them playing with Sylvia Robinson and them to now, okay, we're actually using breaks, and now there's this sampling thing going on. What was going on in LA at that time?
Well, I mean, so again, I'll go back to K-Day, especially Tony G. Tony G was the one that was bringing all the records from New York and playing on the radio. He broke Eric B as president. He broke Latif. This cut got flavor. He would start playing some shit, and then he was starting to bring Ultimate Breaks and Beats. But the person that pretty much was in that is instrumental in having Ultimate Breaks and Beats sold in LA was rest in peace, this Japanese American by the name of Steve Yano. He's the one that sold records over at Rhodium Swap Meet. So he was the one that what do you call it? He was the one that that was selling Ultimate Breaks and Beats. So all of like when that came out, that was kind of like a new thing. If it wasn't for Steve Yao, Dre would not able to make Straight Outta Compton. Because
this is where we're going. That's why, like, you know what I mean?
Straight Outta Compton is all Ultimate Breaks and Beats.
100.
100.
Yeah. 100. Yeah. How do you spell his last name?
Steve. Yano.
ANO, and I'll put Swap Meet.
Rhodium Swap Meet.
How do you spell that?
ROADIU. ROA Rhodium. So it's in Gardena. It's still there, but he also like he was selling records. He was one of the, like, if you think about Asians, right? Japanese Americans selling records. This is where Eazy-E and Dre were selling their mixtapes.
Yeah. Yes, that's where I was trying to like get to. So I mean, maybe this is like a crude picture, but there's a bunch of records right there just to kind of get an idea of the look of it. Right here. Crazy. So like, okay, so see now when you're talking about swap meets, now you're talking about what everyone, like when you hear of like LA culture, and especially in the 80s and the 90s, you're hearing like, I got this thing at the swap meet, blah blah blah, the swap meet. So to have records out there, and he was like one of the first guys to like, Ultimate Breaks and Beats.
Right. He was the man, and then eventually people would go over there, buy it, and they would sell it in their own, whatever little mom and pop stores and shit like that. I mean,
crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy that that like that the Japanese American, again, like I was saying, in terms of the West Coast,
right?
Like, I mean, if you really think about it in terms of Filipino, here's a trippy thing. If you listen to radio, Eazy-E radio, at the end of that song, who's on that? Who's a guest appearance? Like, hey, this is so and so on the radio. It's Nasty Ness.
Oh shoot!
Nasty Ness is old. Like he had a radio show over in Seattle and stuff. He was playing.
Yeah.
He played under, and he was part of Nasty Mix Records, which is also he was DJing for Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Word. Yeah.
So that's this
This is gold, because like I said, that's what's good about the show. I just could go, and like I said, I could just like, what's his name, and I could just pull up stuff. So okay, so now we're going from like we're going from that electro sound to the boom bap sound, and obviously you're DJing at that time. Do you see a shift as far as like taste as far as crowds and like, because obviously like you said, it's like more high energy. Like obviously like something like freestyle is basically ballad music to the to that Planet Rock beat and stuff like that. So obviously world class wrecking crew. We're talking about that. Then we're starting to talk about like the boom bap. By this time, were you already spinning at clubs at all or anything like that? Like,
Kinda. Like I mean, definitely house parties.
okay, yeah, word,
Yeah,
yeah,
house parties. But then also like if there was so you know how we were off there, we were talking about like the mobile groups, like in
yeah,
terms of the Filipino scene.
yeah.
Imagine was a big group, right?
Yeah.
In the Bay Area.
Yes, for sure.
In the Filipino scene, there was a group called Spectrum. Spectrum was the LA is the was the Filipino version of Uncle Jam's Army, and
Okay, word.
brought this guy named Jimmy Corpus, who was the head of Spectrum Productions and stuff. He would pick different uh, groups that happen, Filipino DJ groups that from different cities and put them on the bill, and and throw them at hotel. I would say hotel parties.
Okay.
There you go, hotel
Okay.
parties.
All right, all right.
So
And the sound was already changing for you guys. Like, was it like, or were
I
you
mean,
playing a little bit electro, a
I-
little bit like?
let's a little bit of everything. Like we were,
Okay.
but obviously like obviously when in hip hop, when the more raw shit is more slower versus the
Yes.
up tempo. So
Yeah.
you had to play. There's a time and place you had to play it. Like for the
Right.
if you want the girls to play, freak and dance and shit. You play all the up tempo shit, but sometimes you
Right.
play the hip hop shit more
Yeah.
towards in the beginning or at the end or some shit like that. So
Right.
it all
Yeah.
depends and stuff. Like again, it really all depends and stuff. You just we kind of like again format in terms of like depending what party you're at.
Right. Yeah.
So,
So okay. So now that this is like this switch is coming on, and obviously, even though you're DJing, like now we're talking like we're gonna get to like late '80s, early '90s.
mhm.
And I'm assuming this is when the Beat Junkies got formed because like there was a certain sound, that was happening, like what they call the golden age of hip hop, right?
Right.
Especially down there, I'm sure like when NWA hit, it was like, all right, like you already had gangs, but that probably maybe increased it a little bit more. And
I mean,
stuff like that.
between that and colors.
Yeah, I mean, even for us, like I swear, like everyone was like, regular quote unquote B. When we used the term b-boy back then, it wasn't necessarily you're a dancer; it was just like
Right.
you're a hip hop head.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like you're a Blood and Crip, literally like overnight. It seemed overnight, right?
Well, I
After
mean,
Colors came
whether
out.
blood crip essays, but then of course I'm sure this is the similarities between the Bay Area and LA in terms of the Filipinos. They got the Filipino gangs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, sir. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a lot-
For
lot
sure.
of-
I mean, even there's like, if you guys don't know, like the original Rock Force that was in the '80s became was in it shoot, All Brothers Together. ABT was a big gang in Union City. ABT, that was the original Rock Force. They became All Brothers Together. It was a Filipino gang called ABT.
It's crazy.
So it was a lot of that switch, right? It was a lot of like, oh, I love
Well,
hip hop,
shit.
and then all of a sudden I'm a gangbanger,
Crooks and Castles, they were Filipinos, gangsters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, let me pull up that clip. We were talking about that, by the way. Hold on.
And I grew up with those guys too.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Speaking of which, I had them pulled up, talking about like kind of gangster type thing. Where is it? Right here. We're talking about Booyah Tribe, right? Because I knew them, as big Samoan guys that were rappers, but right here you could see that they're actually like locking and popping.
They were known as. I mean, it's interesting they say Blue City Strutters, but I knew them as the Blue City Crew. So
okay,
Booyah Tribe has been around. Like that's
right.
In terms of history, they're from Carson, Wilmington. I mean, it's crazy. They're wearing all reds. They're called Blue City Crew, but they're blood.
Oh shoot. Okay.
They're bloods.
Word.
That's the funniest thing. The bloods.
Damn.
Right. But yeah. So that's I don't know which one is, if that's Godfather or is that or Cobra, or I mean they're all like Donald. Yeah, that's Booyah, and they were one of the dopest poppers in LA.
Right.
And shit. Boogaloo Shrimp even stated like that like he learned a lot from them. Because Boogaloo Shrimp is originally from Wilmington. Wilmington's next door to Carson and shit like that.
Wow. That's crazy that they had a music career, and I didn't even realize that the whole thing that they're called Blue City, yet they're wearing all red in their bloods.
Right,
That's crazy.
right.
All right, so okay, so Colors comes out. You know, the sound of hip hop is a little bit different. You know, after Ice T 6 in the morning, and then Colors, and then like kind of like NWA, which was 88, 89. Wait, when did Dope Man come out? When was that? When was
Probably 87, 88. I'm not exactly.
87, 88? So already the sound's already changing, right? Like they're
Yeah.
doing more of like more like more ultimate breaks beats
Well,
sample
yeah.
music, yet the
Well, I mean,
content of their the lyrics were more like street
I mean,
gangster stuff.
they also used to do routines and shit like they would take famous rap songs like My Ideas and flip
Oh, right.
and make it something like real nasty, like My Penis or some shit like that,
Right.
or they like Cube. He just recently, I forgot which, I just saw it somewhere on Instagram where he used to be in a group called Stereo Crew, which eventually became CIA. They used to
Right.
be like a knockoff of being like the Beastie Boys, sounding like the Beastie Boys and shit. Cube,
Really?
yeah, for
Oh
real.
shoot.
CIA
There's
crew in action.
just to match you, there's an early record of E40 when he sounds like Rodney O. Joe Cooley.
Right,
This is like 87, something like
right,
that.
right. So
That's
I mean,
crazy.
they would flip any whatever dope song, like whatever the hot song is, and make it a dirty version, so like that.
Right.
And they
Yeah.
used to do routines out of that, and then like NWA would would do that, would do shows like that and whatnot and stuff. So I mean, NWA was an all star group, really, if you really
Right.
think about it. Like Cube was from CIA, Dre was from and Yellow from World Class Wrecking Crew, Arabian Prince. For a lot of people don't know about Arabian Prince.
Yeah.
Arabian Prince was from he was an OG NWA member. He's from the Bobby Jimmy and the Critters. He was also kind of part of Uncle Jam's army. Um, and MC Ren, which just happens to be Eazy-E's homeboy and shit like that.
Right.
So yeah, it was like kind of like a big all star group. I remember when they formed, it was like, oh shit, that's like
Okay.
yeah. For LA shit, that was like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Now, if you're getting like if you're saying the late '80s, so
Hmm.
obviously there's like the like if you talk about even dancing, like
Hmm.
um,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so I mean obviously uh breaking and popping kind of like
Yeah. Yep.
phased out whatever. So a lot of styles were like whatever was like Kid and Play, Big Daddy King style, like Scoop and Scrap Lover and shit like that.
Yep.
New Jack Swing dancing and stuff like that. There was also a scene. They used to wear creepers and shit. This used to be a college scene. I forgot. I'm fucking up right now because I remember. I still remember it. They used to have these clubs over. This dance battles. At a club called Paradise 24, and they used to. And it was crazy. Their dance styles was like it was fast. They'd be dancing. They were doing the RoboCop shit, right?
Right.
And they would play like they would dance to say like Clear, Cybertron Clear at
Okay.
+8, like real fast and shit. Yeah, they're doing some crazy like they were doing some. Man, I forgot what that particular scene was called. But there was another DJ.
Nouveau? Was it the Nouveau scene?
No.
Okay.
There was a DJ. Like Uncle Jam's Army and World Class Crew, there was another DJ group around that time called Ultrawave Productions. That were like they were the after K-Day went off the air, whatever. Ultrawave and Uncle Jam's kind of went whatever, and they all went big time as producers or whatever. Ultrawave was kind of like catering to more of the college crowd now and shit like that.
Okay.
So and then eventually Africa Islam moved to LA.
Word. Okay.
And then linked up with Ice-T obviously, and
Yeah.
they formed Rhyme Syndicate and of course Zulu Nation out here. So
Yeah.
they would throw parties here called United Nations or Water the Bush. So
Okay.
and this is great. This is when I slowly, but like I was old enough to start going to these clubs and shit.
Okay. Right.
Right. And this is the craziest shit. Um, this is the time you would see like De La Soul perform, Also at the same time, you see like Def Jeff and Divine Styler. So
Yes.
East Coast
Yeah.
and West Coast, right?
Right.
You got, and then you got the dance crews. You got Scoop and everybody loves Scoop and Scrap Loader,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But then you would have the Soul Brothers with Dance for
Right.
Death Jack. That's
Yep.
and then there's the Scheme Team with Divine Styler and shit like that.
Yep.
So there's a that's a story in itself. Um, I remember going there. Oh yeah, this one. You know what
Yeah.
this video here is crazy.
Yeah. Herb
Uh,
Alford, right?
huh? What's that?
Herb Alford. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of LA dancers. A lot of people don't know who's in this video with Scheme.
Yep.
Like some of the Scheme Team guys. Razkaz was in it. Raz used to be a
Oh,
dancer.
word.
Raz used to be known as Raisin back in it from a group called Dynamite Soul.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because I know
So
Farside, they all used to be dancers. They were even on Living Color.
they
Yeah.
were what were they called? 2x4 or four, 2x2 or 4x4. I forgot what they call it. But yeah, Far Side. I think that's Dags, man. If I remember correctly, that's Dags. Dags used to
Yeah.
be Raz and shit like that. So this is like the Scheme Team era, like kind of. So
Right.
right, like I said, Raz was in this video, and Raz was in Michael Jackson. Remember the Time. He was part
Okay. Yeah. With Buddha Stretch and,
of
and the Elite Force guys, the Mob
Fatima.
Top guys.
Yep.
Yep.
Everybody, L.A. and New York were in that video, in the Remember the Time video.
Yeah. This is crazy. So you bringing this up, I was like, oh, I have to pull this video up because like when we saw this, we were like, what the? And were you guys calling this hip hop freestyle at the time? Because at the time we were calling it housing.
I mean,
For us.
some people call it housing, some people call it freestyle, whatever. It's just because it's like they were just whatever. Like it was a combination of like they were b-boying and whatever, whatnot. So I mean, and side note, how I met Raz, my man Kalani from the Scheme Team, rest in peace. He used to rap too as well, and he would tell me like, uh, um, yo, I got my boy Raz Cash. He got a record coming out. Blah blah blah. Whoop de whoop. Gave me a record, and then he
Right.
finally introduced me. I was like, "Aren't you Raisin?" And so, and I met him at Unity, this club called Unity. That's a little bit later on the '90s and stuff. So, but that's how I met Raz. That's how I met Raz, and then and ended up doing a lot of stuff with him. From he was working on his Soul on Ice album. But to move back. So yeah, there was United Nations and Water the Bush, Funk Jungle. So there was this club called Funk Jungle, and there was this Filipino cat named Emperor Al. He threw that particular party. He was part of Zulu Nation here in LA. But Water the Bush and or United Nations, that was Africa. That was Rhyme Syndicate Africa Islam's thing, right?
Yeah.
And what's crazy, DJ Yotaka was one of the resident DJs there.
Oh shit.
So
Whoa.
right. So here, what you have to understand, me going into that thing, seeing someone like Emperor Al, seeing someone like Yutaka, there weren't that many during that time. There weren't that many like Filipinos or Asians. There were, it's like I wouldn't say segregated. It's like everybody had their own scene and stuff. But if you want to go to the real shit, you got to go to L.A., Hollywood, and shit like that, right? And when I started to venture out, leaving the Filipino scene and the Asian scene, and leaving Cerritos and starting going more towards LA and stuff, it was basically black and Latinos. There weren't really Asian, so it was kind of like, holy shit. So, especially if you're not in the scene, they already know that you're not from here.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. So by this time you're DJing at this time. So,
I'm DJing at this time, but I'm trying to I'm trying to pick up anything. Like I read anything where I read from either the source, rap pages, Herb Magazine was Herb Magazine was a local. It's from LA and stuff, and they used to talk about. That's how I would know about Water the Bush and Good Life. They talk about. Of course, they talk about New York, but they would talk about like the scenes in the Bay Area. They talk about the scene about the LA. So that's how I would know about like, the Gavin Convention. That's how I would know about like, Knuckle Neck Tribe and shit.
Yeah.
But I would know about like Saphir and all of them. But then also here, I kind of figured out like, B plus, who's famous photographer. That's my big brother right there. He used to write an article for Art magazine, and he would also do like he would do all the photography for them. A lot of like Brent Rollins, who was the art director, who ended up becoming the art director for Rap Pages, and then did a lot of artwork for like he did the Soul Train, the new Soul Train logo. He did Dilated's logo. He did man, you know, so a lot of people that came from that era. It's just crazy. It's like that are now respected came
Yeah.
from that particular thing, and that's how I would know. Like I would know about Jeff Chang,
Right.
Zen.
Yeah.
He used to
Yeah.
write articles in her magazine.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. 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 That's
So
crazy.
you
I
know,
mean, it's really you see how small the world really is, especially at that time, right? But
totally.
from an outsider, it seems so big because you're seeing all these articles, you're seeing as a hip hop fan.
Right.
Um, Real quick, let's go to the chat real quick before I go to my next question. Okay, let's start with. We're gonna save that one for the end. I'm gonna go there, but then first of all, save the hip hop culture. Rhettmatic visionaries, yes sir. Pluto says word visionaries, beat junkies as well, and then save the hip hop culture says cosmonauts and all that. What up, Pluto? And save the hip hop culture. Yo, shout out sick, man. And then we save the hip hop culture says we gotta acknowledge the Filipino contribution to the DJ culture. That's huge. Thank you, sir. Pluto says and breaking as well, a huge Filipino history. Oh, we have a lot to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's the unknown story that I'm doing my I have my own research and got my people when things are musically there, no categories. Molly Marr started a freestyle producer before pioneering boom bap. Thank you, sir. Save the hip hop culture. Tony A still had a big collection of these mixtapes. Oh, that's dope. And the
Yeah,
last thing that Pluto
yeah,
says. Go ahead.
he's talking about the Rhodium's mixtape.
Okay, word.
So Tony A, Latino from Wilmington. He was like after Dre stopped, he took over. He DJ'd and produced for High C.
Oh, okay, word.
Right. So he actually did his own. It's on YouTube. He did his own documentary on the Rhodium.
Crazy. Oh, dope. All right, I gotta check that out. It's on YouTube though. Hell yeah.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, there you
He
go.
he has a podcast too as well called I think Rhodium Radio or something like that. So
Crazy. So okay, so we went from we talked about Scheme Team. So at this time, I'm assuming this is when the Beat Junkies form around that early '90s. Would you say early
I would say
'90s?
92 is when officially the group, but like so this is the interesting time. So I think this is going for even up north, even probably for New York and for LA. The rapper was starting to be more upfront versus the DJ.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
The rappers were starting to taking, instead of using DJs, they'd get a DAT player.
That machine. Yep. Yeah. Yes.
Right. So that's the same thing as with breaking and popping, whatever. When DJing went underground, a lot of people kind of like stopped DJing, think it was played out. We were, and at least around here, like I came from a mobile DJ group.
Right.
Melody came from Melody. Like a lot of the junkies, with the exception of J Rock, we all came from a mobile DJ group, and so we were the only ones that still DJing. I mean, we met Jay through the scene and stuff like that, and we connected and stuff, and he would come to our parties and shit just to and he would rock it. We were like, who's this guy and stuff like that, and he was just. I remember first time seeing Jay. It was at a place called Funky Town Records, in Torrance. His homeboy, who is also a homeboy of mine, his name is DJ Streak, from a rap group called Insane Poetry. Because they're from Orange County. He would bring him on, and says we used to hear about Jay. So, a little side note. So, Mixwell.
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
we know those guys for such a long time and shit like that. So Joy Quarles, who did all the design for Mixwell, they used to be called Junk, and we used to do his house parties for him, but he would had J Rock do his mixtapes. He would tell us, yo, you need to hear my boy J Rock, and he would tell them, "Yo, you need to hear about Kirsch and Rhettmatic and DJ What and stuff like that." So they would always hear about it. And when we finally met, and I was like, man, we just for whatever reason we just hit it off or something, like, and that was the time also a lot of DJing was kind of like, again, everybody started not really, DJing was starting to be played out, right?
Right.
They think after 89, after DJ Aladdin, they think it's like, what can you do after that? So everybody's like,
okay.
right? So no one's really doing anything and shit like that. So that's what happens, is that we started hanging out like that, left our respective mobile DJ groups, and we just hanged out. And then eventually Jay was the one that says, I've always wanted my own crew, and we're going to call ourselves the Beat Junkies, and we're going to wear these Green Lantern rings that he used to wear at a comic book shop. So he had to. So let alone, this is at the same time we started hearing about, at least in Philippine scene, I heard about Cuber.
Right. Yeah.
He
won he won the nationals, right?
Even before that, I was hearing about Cuber.
Okay.
Cuber, but I didn't know about Mike. I didn't know about Apollo. Right.
All right.
Right. So, but you would hear through the grapevine. So, but let alone we didn't know what Q and Mike and Apollo were doing. They had their own little thing.
Right.
Let alone the X-Men were doing their thing in
New
York. So there was pockets. Everyone wasn't really DJing, but our three groups and a couple of other groups like Quest and the Bulletproof Scratch.
Yep.
Right. There's only a few of us who were like, because most of the time everybody's like, "You still scratching? You still DJing?" Like so.
Yeah. I mean, for us, I think for us in the Bay, we had a show called Home Turf. So it featured like Qbert, it featured Quest, it featured Disc.
Right.
So for us, it was like that was our mainstream already. So it was kind of like these were like celebrities and stuff. So for us, it wasn't like underground. It was like if you made it to that show, you're mainstream. You know what I mean?
Right. But I've heard about Home Turf. Now, obviously, when Q won, and then when Q, Mike, and Apollo won the thing, then we hear more stuff, and then we get the tapes. Now, this is the interesting part. So, before the Junkies was formed, there's a little story. So, around 91 and stuff, J-Rock and myself, Rocka, Irish Science, Easy Rock, we were part of West Coast Rock City group.
Yeah.
we when Legs came into town, he had the hip hop shop. That's how I officially met Q, Mike, and Apollo, because at the time, they were saying, if you, like Legs would say, if you want to be if you want to be down, you got to go. You got to try out battle Q, Mike, and Apollo. I was like, you crazy? Like that. But I was like, we just hit it off and shit like that. So, but that's how I met Q, Mike, and Apollo as a Rock City DJ. Like I was a Rock City DJ with Rob One, rest in peace. Like Dilated was part of the Rock Steady, but they weren't known as Dilated at the time. They were known as Fatliners.
Right.
Rocka was he was a manager for the hip hop shop for Hex and stuff.
Yes. And it's funny because I know that Save the Hip Hop Culture is going to have Rocka on soon. I'm trying to find that one clip.
Yeah, that's how long I know Rocka. Like Rocka got some stories on me, so it's funny. So, but yeah, I've known. That's how long I know Rocka since. Like,
all right, here's footage from the hip hop shop. Oh, where am I playing it? Right here.
Yeah,
this is footage from the hip hop shop, and this is like 1992, right? July 92, and you have Lil Caesar, Willpower, Robbie.
They were kind of like, I know eventually they were like they were kind of like almost inducted, and then and then I know they broke away. Said, "Now we're going to be Air Force Crew." And then,
right. Bring back Air Force Crew, right?
Right, and then there was like obviously controversial and shit like that, and of course there's the big thing between Easy Rock and Caesar.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why, like, that's like one of the reasons, like, that main rivalry created two dope events, which was like the Radiotron, and then because to counter Radiotron, it was like B-Boy Summit. Right. So and if there was no B-Boy Summit, there would be no freestyle session. That's straight up because it was in San Diego.
No, totally.
Cross One took over.
We were there for the we were there for the San Diego thing when Rocksteady went against the JB Imperials, and because we performed there.
Oh shit, word.
The Junkies performed there, and the Pickles performed there and shit like that. So,
Yeah, crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
man. This is what I'm saying. It's like there's so much this connection that no one really understands. That like we were way more connected, especially like something like Summit. That was like the whole point because like
right.
this is no disrespect to Caesar, but Caesar he brought in the elements, but it was like more competition based. While Summit was like, yo, we're gonna have panels, we're gonna talk
Right.
about hip hop, and
Yeah.
we're gonna and like actually the first time I heard some of the breaks, the ultimate breaks and beats stuff was at Summit. You know what I mean? Like.
Shouts to Easy Rock and Asia One. They're the ones that really put it together.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
real. Like so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a picture. There's a. I don't know. There's a video, but there's a picture of a panel. Like there's a DJ panel where it's me, Babs, Z Trip was on there. There's even there's a picture somewhere floating around where Babu and I were doing a routine in front of the B boys. I forgot exactly where. I mean, because there was like a 2 or 3 day event, something like that.
Yeah.
Because there was the part where we DJ'd, it was inside a hall, but then obviously the battle between Rocksteady and JB Imperial was outside and shit like that.
Yeah.
Is JB Imperial and Rock Force? Was it like I forgot? It was like it seemed like Rocksteady against everyone at the time.
Yeah, there was the one that was like at the city hall, and that was like that was '96, and that was Rocksteady versus Style Elements. So there was that one.
No, this one before. This is when Ken Swift.
Okay, the one before that. Yeah.
This was in the part. That was in the part.
That was okay. Yeah, word.
Yeah.
There's no. I just saw a picture that Summer. I think Summer just put a picture of that
because
today. I think
because they weren't when they battled. They were wearing the baby blue.
Okay, word. Yeah. That was
I'm bringing it's like damn.
It's like PTSD from that time. But yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. Like, we're way more connected, and I think like in these debates that I'm involved in.
Well, like I said, with you and me, I met you through because of KNT.
Right.
Because of Q and Mike and Apollo.
Yeah.
Obviously, KNT was part of the dancers of FM20 crew and shit like that.
Yeah.
I met Gideon.
Yeah.
Gideon, Preacher, G Boogs.
Yeah.
Fucking I remember. P Kid, right?
Yeah.
So like, and it's funny because they were dancers, but they were also rappers and shit like that.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, no. So and that's what I mean. Like like I said, I was trying to say, like a lot of these debates, they don't know that like how much we were connected. Like I said, like Rocka being on Six show and Tamal's show, like he was seeing this stuff happen at the hip hop shop. And
no.
You know what I mean?
Like I'm saying, Rock is like I'm saying, Rock has been there. I mean, him and Ralph Finn went to Fairfax High and shit across the street.
Damn. You know what I'm saying?
I'm saying.
And that's the thing. It seemed like, and this is where I'm going to go to before I get to the chat again. See, for us, the golden era of hip hop, in my opinion, this is just my opinion,
right.
The Bay Area was like from '91 to like about '94, right? Like we had like the scene was like we didn't have like that's what I say. Like New York, LA had dope people as far as b-boys, right? Like you had Caesar and them, you had Fresh, you had everyone from LA. Mm-hmm. From LAB and Air Force, and New York, of course, you had Quickstep, you had Legs, you had Kenny and stuff. But what they had in talent, we had in numbers. Like there's just a bunch of us.
Well, it's crazy because
I mean?
What's crazy when you said about the so you're right. You had a scene because of the Gavins. You had the Gavins, so everyone would come. So there were showcases. You guys would get to dance and those things. I remember driving all the way up from LA to go, like sometimes we go there just to go get there early before the Gavins to go to the Cream of Beat parties by the
right. Yeah.
And then there might be a DJ battle, a local DJ battle at the Zebra Record Store.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
You know?
No, and we had, and then at the same time, if you want to do that, then you go to Psycho City, watch everyone paint because there was like a legal wall, right?
Right.
And then of course, as far as like rap, right? It was just like Hyro was on top. Like they were like, from Dell to like, Souls of Mischief.
Right.
And then when they were really like officially Hyro, it was like, and then we had the Wake Up Show. You know what I mean? You had Sway and Tech just like, push this stuff, right? You would hear Q and them on the radio. But it seemed
that was the thing too. I remember listening to Wake Up Show and KMEL, they allowed you to cuss. I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
I mean,
First
yeah,
when
there
they,
was that. There
that
was
was
that
like,
legendary battle, right? Hobo
yeah.
Junction versus
Well, not
Hyro,
even that,
right?
just in general, like they like on the wake up show, they were like, damn, you can cuss. Of course, if you get when they moved to LA, they couldn't they had to
Right.
keep
And
clean
see,
and
that's
shit.
what it seemed like to me. Like it felt like we peaked like as far as like everyone together
Right,
around like maybe 94. But then I felt like when Sway went south and then
right.
Radiotron started, it just seemed you guys had this reoccurrence of like this more than just gangster rap, but this true school hip hop movement. Even the unsigned hype guys went to LA, right? Like
Well,
you had
well,
like Mystic Journeyman.
what's interesting? Well, yeah, what's interesting is that like yeah the I mean, there was a, yeah. There's, I guess you can, if you talk about golden eras, there's different eras. Like
Yeah,
there's the '80s,
right.
'90s, right? So if you're talking about the like at least on the West Coast, the independent scene and stuff like that. So I mean, the 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 Bay Area is, I mean, obviously have a rich history in being an independent scene itself.
Oh
But
yeah,
in terms of underground hip hop, I mean, Wolf, Peanut Butter Wolf is originally
yeah.
from San
Yeah,
Jose.
that's what I'm saying. Like everything
San
kind
Jose,
of like
right? He was
migrated south.
right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I mean, I guess it made sense because because again, everything in terms of entertainment business,
Right.
LA isn't there like that. But at one point, I remember, yeah, when he started Stone's Throw, I remember just going. Uh, he was living. I think at one point he was living in San Mateo, and then he eventually moved to the city and stuff like that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember going to his crib when I had to lay down scratches for his my vinyl weighs a ton and stuff. He was living in the city, uh,
Yeah.
right? So then eventually, yeah, you're right. Wolf moved down to L.A.
Dude, everyone moved to
Yeah.
LA
Well,
for us, and that's why I'm saying it
but
started to
it's,
like
what's
migrate.
crazy because the Mystic Journeyman, obviously I knew them from Oakland, but I didn't know Tommy
Yeah.
was originally from L.A. And he moved to
Okay,
the
word. I didn't know that either.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Murs is from L.A., but like a lot of
Yeah.
half of the living legends is from L.A. that went to the
Moved to
Bay.
the Bay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it was like that was that movement slinging your tapes out,
yeah,
on in Shattuck Avenue. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
that
right,
was that
right,
movement. You know what I mean?
right,
So
right,
that's what I'm saying. It's just like, but it seemed like when everyone moved, it seemed like there was this big migration, and then it's centered because even most of the breaking slowed down here, but in LA, it was kind of like, well, there's Radiotron, now there's Summit, now you know what I mean? Like
right,
then even
right,
Renegades, who's a Bay Area crew, they won Radiotron, and they became more, they toured the world because of like
right,
they're
right.
breaking heroes the whole time, but they were like young, but kids. But then when they won Radiotron, it seemed like you have to go there to kind of be that, you know what I mean, to make
Well,
your name. You know what I'm
well,
saying?
it goes back to what I was saying. Like coming up, if you want to get respected, you got to go. Like I gotta leave the bubble and
Right,
go. I had to go where the where the shit's at
right,
and stuff. That's
right,
on
right.
some 8 Mile shit. You know, you know.
Yeah, man, crazy. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's why it's good that you're mentioning all of this because like I'm getting a different perspective, right? Because I'm getting like frontline. You're giving me the behind the scenes, like oh shoot, yeah, how much we are connected. Okay, we're about an hour 12 in. Before we start going to the questions again, we're going to go to one thing that this guy asked me on. Well, let me go to the Instagram. One Instagram question, and the guy from Instagram is on the chat right now.
Okay.
So BTR Breakin asks, what do you think about the other elements right now, the state of how it is now compared to like, we went from like 80s to like 90s to like, we kind of skipped the, 2010s. What's your all opinion in breaking right now? It's about to be in the Olympics, right? You know what I mean? It's like next year.
I mean, even take away even the Olympics. The breaking scene has been thriving on its own.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever they have freestyle sessions, the big world championship world freestyle sessions here in LA, I always go and support Cross and shit like that. I keep up whatever I can on social media. I mean, of course there was the battle of the year and stuff like that.
Right.
Like for me, I try to be on top, at least be on top of it. And it's interesting now too, because I know you correct me if I'm wrong, because I talked to a couple of like DJ Abel and stuff like that.
Okay.
I talked to Lean Rock, and the DJing in the breaking scene is a little bit more different than what I remember doing and stuff like that. So
I mean, copyright's a hell of a thing when you want to monetize live streams.
But even music or even cutting it up and shit, because back then you still could cut it up and people will still dance to it. They b-boy, I from what I understand, what Rock's right and Lean Rock told me is like you can't be doing too much of that shit because the
Yeah,
dancers will look at you, and this is and I guess it's a whole new generation.
yeah,
They don't really, and it's not even faster. It's more slower tempo. Even I trip
yeah.
out when I watch videos. They're like dancing to Wu Tang. I'm like, really?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, we're trying, it's the retro. I mean, they dress like we're in the '90s now. Like people want
right.
Tommy again.
But
You know what I'm saying? Like,
But
so it's like,
it is what I mean. Hey, I'm not mad at it. So, but it's
right,
just because it's you got to think about it too. It's like Wu Tang is their old school. Like we're
right.
like, huh? Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it's like it's now even now like when you play music in clubs and shit, 2000s is old school. I'm like, huh?
yeah,
But hey, again, it depends. Like you said, you have to keep on you have to remember, like we have to remember, it's like we're lucky to get to experience it when it first just came out.
yeah.
A lot of people are now when they were born it was already happening,
Right, right,
so
right,
they
right.
um
Yeah,
and
that's
this is
crazy.
yeah it's this is a whole another topic in itself, is in terms of like the culture. Now, okay, going back to that question, so what do you think about the breaking scene? The breaking scene, I think they've been thriving on its own, like with
Yeah,
they don't need the music industry or whatever. They got Red Bull, the Monsters. They have people that are throwing their own events, and that's some hip hop shit.
yeah,
If people weren't going to support you, fuck it, I'll throw my own shit. And that's
yeah.
what,
I mean, that's just basically what it is. You know what I mean? I think,
yeah.
you know what I mean. Like you have to, if you don't like what you're seeing, create something what you want to see. It's as simple as that,
That,
right?
so that's a good segue because we talked about this. It's like same thing about the music. Everybody's complaining, you know.
Yeah,
Everybody's complaining, and the thing for me is like I've learned this the hard way. I don't want to be that old fogey guy that get off my lawn shit, right?
yeah.
Because I used to be that. Then I
Mm,
realized, in some ways, I almost used to be like that, right?
right.
But then someone like Jazzy Jeff told
Yeah,
me,
I mean,
I mean,
yeah.
when he was the one that introduced us to Serato. He was telling like, "Yo, man, check this out." We're
Oh,
like, right? And when if someone who introduced the Transformer Scratch to the world, he didn't
yeah.
invent it, but
Right.
he
Made
presented it,
popular. Yeah,
made it popular. If he's doing this on Serato, how you gonna tell that
yeah,
someone that's like like who's and he still can kill it to this day,
yeah. He still
right?
kills it, dude.
Right. So,
Still kills it.
but the thing is he's smart. What I learned from him is that don't try to do what just do you, right? Because like if you try to keep up with the Jones, you're not, like there's
Yeah,
always going to be someone better than you.
yeah,
Everybody has their time. Like there's
yeah,
like it's crazy we're in the position that we're in,
yeah. I
so
would
it's
say
like,
so for
so
sure.
I mean, I've been humbled so many times to a point where like, I'm lucky to be where I'm at, to still what I love to do.
100. I mean, you're getting. I mean, I'm gonna be 48 in 3 months, and I'm just happy that I'm here. Like I'm happy I can still handstand, bro. Like because most people, I mean, most of the OGs that I look at, they can't. Like so, it's
Well,
like,
that's an interesting thing that we talked about. Like when they complain about, a lot of the people I've noticed that complain are the ones that are usually not still participating or
mm,
in the culture. They're not still
mm,
going. They're not. They're not. I don't want to say the relevant or anything like that. They're just not. They're not participating. I get it too because as we get older, we got responsibilities. We
for
got
sure.
people got families, and then you kind of got phased out, and so when people talk about, oh, I love the 90s at this, that's because that's where they stopped off from there,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So when I talk about music, everybody's complaining
yeah,
and about what's on it. It's like, oh, radio. It's like, dude, even at that point, even we played radio, when we had hip hop on radio, you still wasn't playing that shit. You still got to look for it.
right,
So
yeah,
back then you had to look, you had to dig for it. This time there's so much stuff out there. You just gotta dig for it and look what
yeah.
you like,
Same thing.
right?
It's the same.
It's
Same
the
rules
same thing.
apply.
Same
Yeah,
rules apply. This is if you're talking about like keeping an OG and shit. It's the same thing. Go dig for something that you like. Stop.
Right.
If you can complain about it, what are you going to do about it? Because
Yeah.
most of the time, I've learned it. Like, and I hate to say it, it's our old. It's like maybe our generation's fault and the OG's fault for not. You know how the younger kids, like they want to get bound down, but they're
Right.
not learning and stuff like that.
Right.
That we say, it's like maybe it's our fault for not like really sharing it, because at the time, yeah, I also think at the time too, we can't share our knowledge because it's like, yo, man,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
competition, right?
Yep.
Now, ironically, it's 50 years. Like if we want our culture to survive, we have to share this knowledge.
Yes.
It's like
100.
it's any other culture, whether we're Filipino, black, white, Latino, uh, you know, Middle Eastern, whatever. It's a culture. Hip hop is a culture and stuff like that. So it's if we don't like it, stop complaining. Just
Yeah. That's what I
just
say all the time. That's why I say all the time. That's why I'm out here still. Because
yeah,
it's like, I might not dig all the styles that the kids do, but if I'm there present, at least I'm an option.
right. But here's the thing.
I'm an option.
I'll flip it on this shit.
All right.
You know how our parents and all the people older like, oh, that shit's a fad. What do you got?
Right.
What is that shit? That ain't music. We're turning into them.
Yeah, I know. I know. I know.
Why worry about shit that, like, that's not for us. That's for them.
Yeah. 100. That's
I
what
don't
I'm saying.
like, again, and then again, you're talking about the music. You're not talking about the culture. You're talking about the music industry. You're not talking about the culture. If you
Right.
really want to go about it, like I don't go as much as on the walls, but I still get my hand styles on.
Okay. Okay.
Right? I may fuck around and just do little right? But I can't. But I'm not gonna. You think I'm gonna try to go against like like I don't know. Oh, man, man, let me look him up. He's one of my favorite poppers right now from the 818 crew or eighters or shit.
Oh, okay.
Man, he's I forgot. Why am I fucking forgetting his name right now? But yeah, he's one of my favorite poppers and shit. But yeah, man, I mean, just saying, it's what I realize is that if you're still active in it one way or another, in your lifestyle, it's always in it no matter what. It'll never go away. But if you just like, oh, I remember this time, what you know about that shit? Well, I didn't know this is going on because you put yourself out there like that. You took yourself out of the culture.
Yep.
If you really love this shit, you still be doing it, even if you have a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. I mean, or you're not getting as much love as like, this next guy. Like, you got to just do it.
Well, as we get older, it's not about us being the best or popular. It's just that I think that's the thing that people fear, that it's not your style's not as popular, your thing is that, but so what, man? Why not evolve, right? You don't have to be the best. You have to be the best of you, right? Like that's like I can't compete with Victor. I can barely compete with Roxrite, but if I could throw a few rounds and feel good about myself, hey, I'm happy to be here, bro. But I can also, but you're saying, talking to like someone like Roxrite, Lean Rock, learn about that and apply it to what I can do. Or vice versa.
Yes, it's
all
exchanging
experiences is what works for us.
Yeah, 100. All right. So okay, we're gonna go to this question real quick from Instagram, but he was in the chat, and it's just 2 words: Brotherhood Creed. What can you tell us about Helava? I want to pull out that video too. What can you tell us about Brotherhood Creed, bro?
Oh boy.
Hey, first of all, I liked it because there was a dancer in there that was like doing a kip up.
So two of the dancers, they're called Characters of Emotion. They were from LA. They used to dance a lot in Soul Train and shit like that.
Okay, word.
So my best friend Ty, we grew up in Cerritos and stuff like that. And the lead rapper, his name is the Mac, but his name is Sean, but his MC name was the Mac. So he was at the time, he's one of the best poppers in Cerritos and stuff. But then he was also starting to become the best, rapper in Cerritos and shit like that. So
right.
Oh gosh.
It's the chat, man.
You got a beanie? That's me.
Oh, really? Word. I remember this video too.
If you rewind back right there, see with
Okay.
the black beanie in the background,
Let me
that's
see.
me.
Okay. Okay. Wait, I got to rewind it now. This is great. Obviously, I can't play because of copyright, but
Right. So the guy with see right here.
oh shit, that's you right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So
Oh wow.
the car that's bombed right there, that's bombed by Rich One and just one from NASA crew.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So the
Crazy.
guy, so Ty, my best friend is the one in the dreads.
Okay. All right.
He dances too as well too and shit like that. So yeah,
So I knew about the visionaries and and the other video. I didn't know you were in this video.
well, I was in Brotherly Creed before even the Visionaries and shit
Oh
like
shoot, crazy.
that. Yeah. So what's funny is with Brotherly Creed, I was ready. The Junkies was already was already formed and stuff. And then I kind of like I was by that time also I was kind of phasing out from Rocksteady and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
But this is my introduction into the music business and shit like that.
Got it.
So
Got it.
yeah. So
That's crazy. I mean, this is cross colored out, right? They were in cross colors, right?
yeah. I
Or
hate
is it
wearing
called Kanat or is cross colors?
cross colors. I hate wearing those shit.
Yeah, but honestly, that look is back, like straight up.
Well, I still ain't gonna wear that shit.
Like,
If you notice, I was wearing a Carhartt.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that look is back. Like everyone looks like Apache,
Right.
looking for gangster beat.
I mean,
like kids love that look right now, right? The House of Pain look. You know what I'm saying? Like the Workman's look. I mean, why it was called Workman's, right? Outlets because, like, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I met a lot of people in that business. I met Nice and Smooth. Ironically, I met Julio G, another OG Katie Mixmaster, but a lot of people know him from 92.3 The Beat, or or they might know him as the voice of Los Santos Radio on Grand Theft Auto.
Wow. Okay, word. All right.
So, but I met Julio G when he used to DJ for Gerardo during one of the summer jams.
Oh shit, word. Yeah, Gerardo, so, like again, another dancer, right? You know,
so
he was a.
Well, I met because and then of course, because he used to DJ from Mellow Man Ace back in the days. Him and Mellow, he came. Remember Julio G, Mellow Man Ace, and Cypress Hill. They all used to be in the same group together called DTX and stuff like that. So, but what was I saying? Like so. Julio used to be a break dancer himself. He used to a breaker. He was a fucking sick breaker and shit like that.
Right.
But he was also a sick DJ stuff. So there was a dancers for Mellow Man Ace. There used to be a Korean dancer.
Oh really?
Yeah, but he used to dance with the. There was this group called Vital Minds. Vital Minds was one of like a dope freestyle group also from Long Beach and shit.
Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. See, that's what I'm saying. It's like I didn't know that you're part of Brotherhood Creed. I just knew that was one song you came out with Key Cool, right?
Well, yeah, after that, so after Brotherhood Creed, I went back underground and I met with Key. We formed the Cosmonauts and eventually became started the Visionaries.
Right. Yeah, man. This is crazy, dude. Because like I said, there's a lot of connections because I don't get to talk like hip hop with too many people because obviously everyone I hang out with is really young. So they don't know any of this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just like it's good to kind of like go back and talk about stuff like this. So yeah, we're about almost an hour 30 in, and we're about to wrap it up. Before we wrap it up,
any more
let's
questions?
go to the chat. Yeah. Oddmar says, do you think it could ever go back to a more unified hip hop scene like it was in the 90s? Ooh, that's a good question. What do you think?
No.
Damn! Just straight up bang, broke his heart.
Right? It's kind of well, because you got so many polarizing factor.
Contributions.
It's kind of hard. What's this? Is Congo? I saw something said y'all should be careful throwing the word contributions around like that.
Okay. Word. Go ahead, Rhett.
Okay. Well, anyways, I don't know. I don't think so. I because everybody considers when they think of hip hop, they think of rap music. Really, it's just that's So, I mean, it has to be on some pure shit. Like really.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of the kids, like, it's funny because a lot of the kids are like, like talk about this raw essence of, well, in the breaking scene, right? They talk about this raw essence. I'm like, you're 20. You grew up in the competition scene. This is all you know. Like, you didn't
right,
go, like, you don't remember Summit before there was no competition, right? Because
right,
the only
right,
competition was Radiotron, and Summit was like, again, that was like juxtaposed to be like, okay, we're gonna talk about, like, we're gonna fly in a Cool Herc, we're gonna fly in the Grand Wizard Theodore, and that's like, we're gonna concentrate on the history of hip hop.
right.
And now, like, when these kids are joining the competitions, it's kind of like, okay, they talk about Raw, but you guys always, like, if you're 20, you didn't know anything. Like, you were too young for any of this stuff.
Right.
And now, and I challenge them, like, hey, you see these 11-year-olds killing it right now? Like, they're from China. They're not going to know. Lean Rock is their old school. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's what I'm
Rock's
saying.
right is their old school. So what are you going to do? Because that's the whole thing. That's going to be that's going to be the challenges of how do we pass on kind of this history. Again, that's why I have the channel, and that's why I'm documenting all these interviews. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because, like, again, if we don't document it, it doesn't matter about the views. It's like I'm just documenting history from my perspective, because to me this is dope, and I don't want it to be lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing about about the West Coast history and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it's good that Red Bull did that thing with Uncle Jam's Army.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Julio G is writing a book based upon his experience as a West Coast, like coming from KD as the KD Mix Masters, being doing West Side Radio and on 92.3 The Beat. He broke a lot of, like, in the 90s. He broke a lot of records in LA and shit like that.
Right.
As a Latino and stuff like that. And so, I mean, there's also like, I mean, of course, talk about, like, I mean, Dre talks about it, but I have people that really close to Dre. Sometimes he doesn't like to talk about his history. It's just like, it's weird. It's interesting though.
Oh, because it was like he was like into the electro thing and like.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's it. I mean, I've been lucky to meet Dre one time. I remember I had to bring up I brought up Ultimate Breaks and Beats. What made him more interested when I said, hey, I told him, like, yo, I used to spin for Julio G on 92.3 The Beat. He's like, oh shit. It's like, I'm good friends with Tony G. Him and Tony G also were tight friends and stuff like that. And I told him, like, I saw him at Knott's Berry Farm, and that's when he goes like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, okay, because you talked about that. Is there any footage of that? Let me see if there's any. Is there any, like?
There's no footage of it.
Oh my god, that would be like.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. As someone is like, I told him, was like, as a kid, I told him, like, like certain things that, like, like, I know cats were like jocking him for certain things. I was trying not to. I was just like, look, this is what I remember, as a fan. We talked about his 4-track mixes and stuff like that. And he would say, yo, man, Tony G used to come to my house to work on the 4-track mixes with me and shit like that. Like, wow. It was, we talk about mixers. He said about the Gemini 2200 and shit. So it was like, it's cool.
Shit.
Or the Newmark 1150. We were talking, it's like on some DJ nerd shit and stuff like that. So cool. That was the only, that was the only time I got to meet Dre, and it was because of when he was in the session for doing the album Compton.
Oh, okay, for the movie.
Not the movie, but he had an album that came out the same time called Compton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was there for some of the one of the sessions. So that's how I met him, because I have friends that it's funny. It's like interesting as lucky as everybody's saying you never met Dre. So I have all these friends that work with Dre and knew Dre. We have to know the same people, but I've never met Dre until that time and shit like that. And he didn't even know who I was either, too. So it's all good. So I'm still like I was. Yeah, no. I was trying not to geek out too much and shit like that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the names you said through the show, like, kind of like, you mentioned your Ice-T's, your Africa Islams, you're mentioning these things that no one knows about, these little connections, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even the Breaking and Entering documentary, like, with Ice-T dancing and, having Egyptian Lover on there. And, this is all stuff that, like, usually B-boys and B-girls don't really care about.
Right.
For someone like me, but then they don't even know, like,
well, that's what I'm saying. It's a different generation. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I get it, but you're right. You have to say this. We have to talk. At least I only can talk about upon from from a LA perspective. You
Right.
know, I can't
Yeah.
speak upon New York because I wasn't born there. I didn't get to witness. My first time to really go to New York to experience something like that was in the early '90s.
Right.
When it was I went there for the Rocksteady anniversary.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, Dude, J Rock, and a couple of the homies that were part of Rocksteady crew LA chapter, we took a bus. We
Oh, damn,
fucking
you took Greyhound.
we took a Greyhound bus. Took us
Oh
two and a half
shit.
days to get there to New York and shit like
Right.
that.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's how this was like 92, 93 and shit. This is
Yeah.
during the New Music Seminar and stuff
Yeah.
like
New Music Summer. Yeah.
that. So I went
Yeah.
to Rocksteady Park, 98th in Amsterdam.
Right. Right. Right.
I got to see where Lord Finesse dissed the Lords of the Underground. Far Side
Right.
performing the first time in front of everybody and shit like that. You know,
That's
like
crazy.
yeah. So yeah, just to go to the Mecca. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right. Right.
You
Right.
know? So and then from there, that's when I was able to go to New York during those times, during the New York seminar, during the Rocksteady anniversaries, during you know, I guess the highlights during those times and shit. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny because I barely like no one really mentions new music seminars so much. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, like like because like that's when all the rap battles happen. That's when all the
That's all right.
DJ battles happen. That's when
Right.
you know what I mean.
But while that was happening, Rocksteady anniversary was happening also.
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole, and that's when it was really connected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was really
So
connected.
yeah, to going back to the question I was saying, do you think this scene would be
It'd be
united
the
like
same. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't because it's too much money. Everybody,
Yeah.
there's too much money and too much egos.
Mm, yeah. Dang. Oh, Pluto says, you hear killer? They took a bus. Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, again, that was the whole thing that was like way more connected, and now it's like obviously we're definitely separated. But we could always try to have some type of elements there. We can't have no matter what, we can't have a competition without a DJ because we can't dance without we
Well, I
can't
mean,
dance without a DJ. Like
one way or
if
another.
anything,
Well, I mean, again, people have to understand, separate the rap, the music part and the culture, like or the rap music, because it's like everybody's talking about hip hop, but they're not talking about the actual. They're only talking about what's rap music, really,
Right.
the rap aspect of it and stuff. And there's
Yeah.
more. I mean, if you're talking about hip hop, you can't forget the other elements. But
Yeah. I mean,
but again, I it was a special times in the 80s and the 90s and stuff, like because it was like cats were still trying to get put on, cats were hungry, cats
hmm
there was not really a really industry that people were still trying to navigate and stuff
yeah.
like that, whether it be
Yeah.
whether it be also like for music or for the art and like that.
Right.
So I saw something. How big was West Coast Rock Steady?
Oh yeah.
It's pretty big. From San Francisco to LA to San Diego.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It was big.
I only can talk about the LA chapter. If you want to talk about the San
Yeah. Who was
Francisco,
in the LA chapter, real quick? I'll talk about the San Francisco chapter.
okay,
Who was in the
the
LA
one
chapter?
the one who first started it was Zulu Gremlin. Zulu
Yeah.
Gremlin, and then of course Easy Rock. There's a Heather Last, a girl named a B girl, a freestyle dancer named Heather Last. Terry, who's also kind of like she was kind of like the den mother. We call it Rob One.
One.
Did I say Rocka? Rocka was in
Yeah,
it. I was in it. J Rock was in it. Rob One, rest in peace.
Mhm.
There was a group called the Project Ill Brothers. Um, Iceman. Ooh, Iceman.
Iceman. Shout out to Iceman.
Iceman. Yoski. Ooh.
Yoski. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the
Yoski.
name I
Woo!
remember. That's the name I
Yo-
remember.
Yoski had he may not have the crazy power, but he had the flavor. He had the me mugs and the
Yeah, 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 yeah.
uh,
Crazy.
at one point Hex was somewhat down, and then he same thing broke away. We didn't have really too many graph writers because everybody was doing their own thing and stuff. I know San Diego, like they had Zodak and Zodak, and I forgot what was the other name. they had a few graph writers
Yeah,
in
I'm trying to remember too.
I know
I forgot who
Zodak.
was down.
Zodak. I know he's also a tattoo artist now. Like, but like in for Frisco, you would have to talk to either Alex Aquino
Yep.
or Mike Apollo or Qbert for
Yeah,
that.
I mean, West Coast Rocksteady DJs, right? Was like
Right.
Mike,
Yeah.
Apollo,
Apollo.
Q,
Right.
right? And then
Right.
eventually Short. And then like as far as like Knuckle Dick Tribe, Gideon, P Kid, Preacher,
G
Bayardo,
Boogs.
G Bugs, Gizmo, and then
Yeah.
Corel was later. And then that's as far as the dancers, that's it. That's
Right.
all
Right.
we
Right.
had, you know what I mean?
I mean, you had the Honey Dips too, I guess.
Yeah, the honey, shout out to Leah and them. Shout
Yeah.
out to
So
Honey Dips.
yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it was like it was pretty. At one point, it was pretty big. It was a big like when I was put down for Rocksteady, it was like a big thing. At least like, oh shit, you're part of Rocksteady.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so,
I remember the shirts they had. I forgot who
yeah.
designed the shirts. The West Coast Rocksteady, they had the West Coast
Rec.
Rocksteady shirts.
There's two, either Rich One or Rec. So
Okay,
both from NASA crew. There we go. I'm sorry. They had graphic. They had Rich One and Rec, but
okay,
none of the bigger guys like Slick or Hex or and like
right,
that.
right, right, right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So there was so nice. I'm talking. It's going to be a super experience around the what year was the Rocksteady West Coast was formed? I'd say 91, 92.
Yeah, 91. Yeah,
92.
91. Yeah,
Right.
that
Yeah.
was like I said. This was like, if
Then
anything, and I talked to Caesar too. He said the same thing. Like, one thing is, like, you guys had talent. Like, you had high level talent. We didn't,
right.
because these are guys from the '80s. Like, you had Fresh from LA Breakers.
Right.
You had Little
Yeah,
Caesar.
they were kind of part of it too a little bit. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. They branched out, but and then like I said, in New York, you still had Ken Swift was out there still, Legs, Quick Step, all these guys, but we didn't have so much like as far as high level talent. But again, like Caesar came to the Bay and was like, there was hundreds of you guys. He would say like this: I went to this event and there was 300 Filipinos cheering my name. I said, what the hell is this? I go, yeah, because you're used to the hip hop shop. We actually have a scene. Like Legs used to be. Like Crazy Legs used to be in San Francisco every month.
Oh, of course,
Straight up.
Because of Alex and Leah.
Yeah,
and
yep.
like
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, in terms of like it's crazy too, because like when you mention all the people like the LA Breakers, like Fresh and Nonstop have been around too as well.
Yeah.
But the elite the I guess I'm not saying grand opening. I'm trying to think the official announcement of the Rocksteady LA chapter. There was a party at Gazari's, which is an old rock.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Actually, too, do I have a flyer for it? I think I took a picture of it. Someone took a picture.
Really? Where is it at?
I can find
Gazari's. Yeah, that's a rock club. Like Van Halen would play.
Oh, you know what? Oh yeah. Okay, here I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna send it to your IG.
Okay.
So, and you're gonna trip out on it. It was crazy. Doze was living out
Doze, yo. Shout out to
Doze,
bro.
I love Doze.
Shout out to Doze. Yeah, he was back and forth to LA and San Francisco.
Because he was doing a lot of okay, check it out. I just sent it to your IG.
Okay.
East, I don't know. I don't know.
Hawaii.
East is from Hawaii, yeah. But I don't know if he could have been part of West Coast Rocksteady. He might have been more Rocksteady Hawaii,
Word. Yeah, there was Rocksteady Hawaii. Actually, Leonard and Skilroy, bro.
I was gonna say Leonard. Yeah, Leonard.
Yeah.
Leonard. Yeah.
Yo, Skilroy, did you see that clip on Stance?
Oh yeah.
Skilroy, 56 years old, did a gainer. Like, okay.
Did you get your IG? You're gonna trip on
it? Yeah.
This is the flyer.
I got it. Let me see it. All right, let me pull this up. Window. Here it is. Boom. Right here. Bam. Look at that. Oh, Urban Soul. Yeah, that was the original KNT.
Yep.
Their names. They called themselves Urban Soul before they went to they were Knuckle Neck Tribe, the dancers. Then they were Urban Soul, the rappers, but then they became KNT, the rappers.
Right. Yeah, I forgot. Urban Soul was So if you could look,
wow.
Whipper Whip and Grandmaster Kaz was also living here in LA and shit like that.
What the heck? This is dope. This is yours?
Mm-hmm.
Kazari's, yeah, like that's a rock club, yeah. Like
Yeah,
Rob one, damn, gee whiz, word.
that's what I'm saying. This is like, yeah, this is like the official announcement of LA Rocksteady Crew LA chapter.
Damn, this is crazy.
Supernatural is really they were called the Supernaturals, now called the Project Ill Brothers, and the Flatliners was dilated.
Crazy. And there goes FM20.
Hmm?
Yeah. What
And
the heck?
this is when when Mike Q and Apollo just won
Oh,
won the
93?
yeah,
DMC 90 and 93?
92, 92, 92.
92. Was that 92? Okay, word. Crazy. Oh, this is dope. Oh man.
Hip Hop Shop, see Melrose.
Yeah. One more time. One more time. Yeah. The hip hop shop. That's insane. This is history right here, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. When we're talking, when we're talking shop, we're talking like stuff that no one talks about. And again, like I was with track two. Had track two on the phone. He called me up and he just started just dropping gems. I was like, wait, don't tell me anymore. I need you on the podcast so we can tell these stories. Because like it's gonna go in 1 year and I'm gonna remember certain things, but at least I'll have a document if I have a conversation on a live. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you know what's kind of it's all kind of rewind back into the B-Boy Summit during when Rocksteady were battling what do you call it,
the Imperials, yeah, JB, the Imperial JBs. There you go.
JBs, there you go. I said JBs Imperials. Okay, so that's where I met Flowmaster, and I remember seeing Burns when Burns.
Oh, okay, word. Okay, word. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
I kind of know my little.
Was he Flowmaster or was he Legs Almighty?
Oh, he's Flowmaster. I remember
he was Flowmaster by that time. Okay, word.
Yeah,
so I just remember that.
Now I was tripping on Burns because he was like, he's all rough and rugged, and then getting down on Timberlands. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Crazy. Okay, one more. Oddmar says same thing with B-Boy Summit SD. It was connected to a trade show. Oh, word.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was not. Oh man, I forgot what it's called. It was a clothing trade. It was
was it ASR?
No, I think it was ASR.
Really?
Or there was ASR, but there was another. There was a smaller. It was for all the street. They had all the ASR, but then there was a smaller show within that. So it's kind of connected some ways because it's like streetwear. They didn't want to like because like by that
yeah.
Was Tribal still? I want to say it was Tribal, and I forgot what their clothing line with that Zodak would do. The graffiti thing, man. I forgot, man. But yeah, they used to have their own little, like San Diego had their own little scene and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, man, rest in peace to Cutfather. So
yeah, rest in peace, bro.
Yeah, Cutfather was bought. I want to say he was the head of Rocksteady Zulu Nation over there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the DJ Stephen Flex and Unique. B-Boy wise, I don't remember if they had. Charlie Rock. Charlie
Rock. Yeah. Not Charlie Rock, but Charlie Rock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who DJs now? He DJs more than he pops. And he used to like pop a lot and stuff like that.
He was a dancer for a rap group from San Diego, Vicious Beat Posse.
Oh, whoa. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he used to be a dancer for the Vicious Beat Posse.
There's another guy that was Rocksteady. It was E Swift. E Swift was a guy. He's bad, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't really again like with the B-boys. I'm more like I knew the writers, the MCs, and the DJs. I didn't know really the B-boys, but ironically here I knew of course Easy Rock is from Winter Park, so Winter Park's right next to the Cerritos. So I kind of knew about Easy Rock. I met Easy. Yeah. I met Easy before he even. I think right before he became part of Rocksteady, and we all became part of Rocksteady.
Was he B-Boy Access at that point?
He was Easy Rock.
He was Easy Rock. Okay, word.
I heard about that. Yeah, but
that was B-Boy Access.
That was access. Easy was like, man. If I remember, Easy was always a.
Yeah, he was the most well-rounded at the time. The most well-rounded B-boy.
The big talk was either between. It was going to be obviously for LA shit. It was between him and Caesar.
Yeah.
The real big one was like, would it be him versus Storm.
Oh, word.
There was
Yeah,
always
yeah,
like, yo,
yeah.
who do you think? It was like,
Yeah,
man,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
easy, easy was the man.
Yeah, dude.
He still to me, he's still the man.
Yeah.
But
Shout out to Easy Rock, man.
yeah, so
Shout out to Easy Rock.
yeah.
All right. Well, we're about dang an hour 49:50, man. We're about to wrap it up. I need to get you on one of these other shows. So I'm starting to like do one-on-one interviews, but then we do group ones. We call it the Hip Hop Dark Web. Maybe we'll have you on there and we could talk hip hop and just spicy topics of hip hop and history. With Dr. Derek Colon, Pluto, shout out to Pluto. Before we wrap it up, is there anything you want to say to the audience?
Um, shoot, thank you for having me. Thank you for anyone that supported myself or the Beat Junkies or the Visionaries or anything I'm involved with. The Beat Junkies, we have a school called the Beat Junkies to Sound, located in the city of Glendale. We have an online school, beatjunkies.tv. We have a digital record pool, beatjunkies.com. So, uh, uh, D Styles and myself, we have a radio show or like Twitch. We have a radio show on Twitch
So,
called Soundcheck, which is we have tomorrow every first and third Tuesdays and stuff like that. So, yeah, just as you can see, a lot of us have a lot of projects. J Rock has an album out, on Stone's Throw. D Styles has a couple of projects. I got a project with J Rawls called Rhettmatic. I have a project with Frank Knit that just re-released I released it 15 years ago on Bandcamp. Now it's on all streaming platforms. Man, shit. Of course, yeah. Thank you. And for D in short, yeah, Scratch Pickles are going to be in L.A. in June. So is it June or July? I forgot, but yeah. So go check.
word.
Yeah. So yeah, I just talked to Short. Short was in town last week. He actually DJ with Lean Rock.
Yeah, ain't no joking. Yeah, he
Yeah.
DJ'd the pre-party for the Red Bull.
Yeah.
And
So
I was like, oh shoot, hell yeah.
Yeah.
My boy Squid Rock, shout out to Squid Rock. He was like, yo, Shortcut killed it. I was like, of course he killed it. It's Shortcut. If you're not used to it.
I was like, how are you gonna DJ post on Florida and don't tell me and shit? He's like, oops. And then of course then he surprised me. We met up at the Gold Line Bar and stuff. And so
Dope.
Yeah.
And then they can find you right here on Instagram at DJ Rhettmatic right here.
Or
Is this right?
Rhettmatic. Just Rhettmatic.
Rhettmatic. Okay, just Rhettmatic. Let me fix that.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh, Pluto,
But yeah.
Pluto 7 says he got a few things to ask.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. One more. Because I need to like take a shower. I haven't. I have to organize. I have to meet up with one of my crew members today because he flew in from Hong Kong because I'm throwing the Floor Gang's anniversary this weekend in San Francisco, California. Woo! If you want to go, snap this and scan the QR code. Actually, I got this idea from Short. He said you should put your QR code on your card. I was like, what if I do better? What if I make a sticker for the jam? No one has flyers no more. No one has flyers no more. You know what I'm saying? Right? No one has paper flyers.
Unless you have a promotional team.
Yeah. But so I was like, well, if I make stickers, you can stick this on your water bottle and just scan it and it goes to the event page. Hey.
There you go.
It lasts longer. Okay. Okay. Pluto, go ahead. Ask him now or forever hold your peace. Hurry up. Because I'm going to have a guest. I'm not going to talk about it yet. They're going to release. I have a special guest coming on. Was June. What's the date of that? It is the first Monday of June. I'll have a special guest. Tune in, guys, because all the trolls that like to debate and all that stuff, you could ask all the questions you want on that show. So you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. Like with Hip Hop Dark Web, the one with my special guest that I haven't announced, that's gonna be the trades where it's just more interview style. Dark Web is like we bring up like, just like, was the Herc Party really the start of hip hop? Like we ask those questions.
It's kind of hard to say. It's kind of hard to. I mean, we weren't there, but I mean, before we go, honestly, to break down all the history of like how I learned about hip hop was this book called The Illustrated History of Hip Hop. I don't know
All
if you
right.
know it. I don't know if you know
No.
that book. It's hold on. It's it's basically by, I'm gonna look it up right now. Uh, and it's expensive too because they don't illustrated
Well, I can look it up. What is it?
illustrated
Illustrated.
history of hip hop or hip hop. There's a guy on the head. It's Lee from Beach Street on doing a head spin on the front cover. It's by
Okay.
Steven something. I forgot.
Stephen Hager.
Yeah, there you go. That's how I learned all. When I want to learn about hip hop, that was my go-to Bible book. Then of course next would be Subway Art, and then
Word. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, those are the two books that kind of like in terms of hip hop. Those are like Phase Two, Future 2000 are my favorite graffiti artists, and then of course Scene, um, you know, um, like yeah, but
I
Phase
can't
Two,
find the image, but I just had a partner, my partner, one of the panelists for Hip Hop Talk, just talked about it, Stephen Hager, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah,
Word.
that's honestly that's the what do you call it? That's honestly how I learned about everything from Zulus to like the theory with Flash and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
The single pull double throw and shit like that. I would, like I said, nerding out, learning as much as I can.
Yeah.
And shit.
All
Pluto
right.
seven, Pluto seven says
Yep.
this
Go
sells
for it.
fun. I don't think so. Pluto. Short was the one that told me though about the Shore 44s that you only can get them from Japan. So short one was shortcut. It was the one that told me about this. I don't know if if, if D knew about it, but I know Short knew about it because it was during the time around 93, 94 when he went to Japan with Q. So that's how I
Word.
knew. That's how I knew about the Shore M44s, and then from then we bring him over from Japan.
Crazy. Hell yeah.
So
All right. So yeah. Again, we're gonna wrap it up. If you want to follow Rhettmatic, he's on Instagram at Rhettmatic. You can ask him all questions. Check out his stuff. Like I said, he's still out there. There was a trade show was that video that you posted, was that a recent trade show?
oh, that was at the NAM show.
The NAM
So
show. Okay, word.
So it's cool because it's like we had a booth with Jetpack, to promote. We did that to promote our school and stuff. We had our kids, our advanced kids. Goodness gracious, they stole the show. Grandmaster Flash was like watching them and stuff like that. And then
That's see.
we also
Good.
had the Katie Mix Masters. That was a big thing to have the Katie Mix Masters.
Word.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The we literally had Battle Cat, we had Tony G, we had Aladdin,
Oh, dope.
Evil E, we had Ralph M, Greg Mack was there, Lonzo from the World Class Wrecking Crew was there. So yeah, I mean it was hit for LA history. That was some big thing. That was a big thing for us too.
That's dope, man. Hell yeah. Hell
So
yeah. You can find the trades right here with Rhettmatic real quick. And those okay, one more. Let's see. So it says, and those Neos cartridges were the ones in the Warriors movie?
I
Was
don't.
it?
I gotta watch it to see if it is or not. It
Yeah.
might be. I don't know. It could be it could be the Statins. I don't know. I got to look at it. But that's a pretty nerd question right there.
Yeah. Oh, Pluto. This guy, Pluto does his research, man. He's part of the hip hop dark web. He has a lot of dope, he digs, bro. He digs.
Nah, you
All
got to
right.
dig. That's part of the culture is digging.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. All right. So
All right.
before we sign off, again, you can find me on Instagram at PROFO_FLGZ. This has
Watching him,
been the trades.
watch him doing his exercise, showing off.
This is the trades with DJ Rhettmatic. See you next week with Carl Paoli, one of the future people, maybe the future B-boy agent. I'm going to have an interview with him next week. Yes, sir. All right. Peace. And we're out of here.